Cool.
Hit record. Let's do it. Hello and welcome back to the Foxy Property Chat podcast. Jake, how are you today?
Very well, Cody. Thank you. How are you?
Excellent. Phoebe?
I'm great.
Great. Having a nice day?
Yeah.
Busy?
Hot and sweaty?
Hot and
Yeah,
sweaty?
it was a nice steady one, but the team got 3 huge backups coming back today, so
Yeah.
busy because of that.
Busy because of that. All right, let's jump in straight into the questions. Got a few today. From Twice the Charm. As the business started to grow, where did your priorities lie in regards to hiring staff?
They were pretty high up on the priority list, I'd say. So,
On the top priority, really.
yeah, really the only way that your business can grow is by when you have the capacity to bring somebody on. When you have that, I wouldn't even wait to have the work, enough work to justify it. Once you start limiting what you can achieve as a business owner, you need to bring somebody else on. What's the cup analogy there? Capacity versus...
I can't remember. I know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
but I don't have a good
So
answer.
rather than waiting till your cup is full, get a bigger cup. So you
Oh,
get more
yeah.
people on. Allow more to fit in your cup,
And
Cody.
make sure you don't have any
Like that.
holes in your cup.
You'll no holes in your cup. That's bad. That is, you did not add to my analogy.
I think I made it
No.
better. Following up on that. No, sorry, not following up on that. Following up from last week.
Hang on. Do you have anything to add to that? I'm surprised if you don't.
I had a thought and then you distracted me, Cody, with your holes in the cup comment. I think for us it was always a priority because we knew what we wanted to do with the business. So we were never going to be the sort of business that had just yourself and it was all reliant on how much one person could do. So right from the start we knew that was a priority, so we made it one of the first things that we did as soon as we were capable. Actually, I remember what I was going to say in response to, or to add on to your comment about not waiting until you're already full yourself. It was for us not waiting until you already have the jobs booked in to kind of look at and go, see, now I've got the work, so I'll get the person. For us, it was more, as soon as we saw the signs that we were heading in that direction, we tried to kind of be a bit forward-looking. So as soon as we felt like, you know what, we can see some progress, we can see that some of the conversations with agents, those things were working, let's get the person on as soon as we saw some of those things.
Because it allowed me to continue on getting those jobs through the door rather than having to concentrate on the actual work.
And
itself getting caught
what
up
sort
in
of
the
roles
work.
were you looking to hire at the start?
Initially, it was a stylist because
Yep.
there was obviously so much shopping. But you're one of our first full-time hires.
Cody,
Yeah.
for those
yeah,
listening.
Yes. Sorry.
Well, yeah.
And that was playing a long-term game. Your position in the business, knowing that obviously social media won't directly increase revenue to start with. It's obviously had a massive increase now, but and a huge contribution now. But that was that was a big
It was an
call
investment.
and backing it on our
Yeah.
part. So it was worth it though.
Yeah. So stylist just to free Phoebe up, and a lot of the other stuff that was, in the background, the phone calls and stuff that you were continuing to do, the little things at the start that don't take up a huge amount of time, like the bookkeeping and some of the admin sort of stuff. When you're starting out, there's not a huge amount of time needed for that, so we could do that ourselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, really the priority was another stylist to free Phoebe up.
Awesome. Phoebe, do you remember at the end of last week's podcast on Instagram, someone asked a question around trends and colour
Oh,
in Australia?
And I said I was going to have an
Yeah,
answer
I
for
couldn't
it.
go back and find the question because it was on the live stream. I couldn't, for whatever reason, click into it. But did you just want to comment generally on that topic?
Yeah, so we've seen a extension of the period in which we would expect a trend to stick around, and that is thanks to COVID and the delay in getting any sort of shipments and new stuff around. So you would have noticed, probably not you two, but any person who's paying particular attention would have noticed that, well, you don't even know what colour of bed is when you pack it up, that the rattan and pastel colours has stuck around for a really, really long time.
I was just saying that the other day.
Yeah, you were, sure. The muted colour palette, so tobaccos and all those mustards and the pastel greens, pastel pinks, lots and lots of rattans. We've now got rattans in Adairs and Freedom at the same time as having them in Kmart. It's very unusual for it to be across all the different levels of tiers of the stores that we have. There are new trends that are coming through. I have seen a lot more of a New York design-based style coming out in more of the shops that a lot of the wholesalers that we use, as well as a bit of a French provincial style trying to make its way through. The colour palette is still staying the same, so I can't say that we see anything different here in Queensland specifically, it was a New Zealand based stylist asking that question, that I can comment on. No, but it'll be refreshing when this new trend comes through.
From a stylist's point of view, and Jake will follow up with the logistics next. What's the hardest part of an install when you're on site at an install? What's the hardest part when you're there? And maybe from feedback from your staff as well.
Sorry,
Yep.
Shane and Jane have just piped. It's a Beautiful Living New Zealand who asked the question last week.
Oh, it was them, was it?
Yes, it was them. So they're saying that agents are asking for more colour through their styling rather than what the traditional creams. And I'll agree with that 100%. We were actually asked about almost 3 years ago from our agents to start incorporating more colour. As styling became more and more accepted in Queensland and Brisbane specifically, you'd scroll through realestate.com and it was all the same. It was all blacks, golds and cream, black, gold, cream, black, gold, cream. There was nothing to really make anything stand out. So colours are definitely something we've been asked to incorporate throughout our styling. Colours that photograph well, that also post-process very well. So any of the bold colours, we really stick away from those. We definitely stick for the subtle, more muted tones and the navies, more of the olive greens and the sage greens, not any of the lime green. So they're the sorts of colours that we've definitely been asked to stick to, not because it's on trend, but because they want the photos to stand out.
So
Now, listen to none of your questions, sorry.
okay. So from a stylist's point of view, or hearing from the stylists here at Foxy, what's the hardest part when you're on site at an install? What's the challenges that you hear the most?
I would say having so as a lead stylist, they have a lot of questions coming through them at any one point in time. If they are turning up to an integrated style, and our beautiful clients sometimes very much under the pump, and we get to the property and it's not quite to the point as would be perfect to have it ready for styling. So when you get to a property and there is a lot more stuff to have to coordinate prior to the styling even being able to go in, which we have anticipated was already done, being able to work around that and potentially even pieces that haven't made the truck, being able to coordinate where in time for photography, that sort of level of stress. I would say that it's the communication, our level of communication, that can sometimes be the most difficult part.
It sounds like that's something you can't really plan for. Like
No.
you've planned for things to happen, and then when things go,
The tangible styling, the expectation of the furniture that's coming, the expectation of knowing what to do for each particular agent we do work for, that's very set out in stone. With the stylists all are very aware of what they're styling before they get there. It's the unplanned things that are difficult.
And Jake, what about the guys in the truck?
Aside from the things that are kind of physically difficult, like an integrated style, we get there and we have to move some of the client's furniture that's quite heavy often, or getting it out of the house into the garage. Even access issues sometimes, if it's a steep driveway or something like that. So they're probably physically they're the more difficult things. Probably what's more common, I guess, is access issues, like getting some of our furniture into the houses, up and down stairs, things like that. Otherwise, I'm kind of drawing a blank a little bit. Like, there's nothing that's consistently challenging, I guess, other than getting the furniture into the house. So, like I said, access.
And those jobs, we like to have them pointed out by our consultation stylist, so that there's going to be potential at these particular jobs. Your face when I show you a spiral staircase always is a good one.
Well, we also try and know those things so that the furniture that gets selected to go to those properties is, either smaller in kind of profile or lighter, or things that can go upstairs, things like that. So, I wouldn't say there's anything that's overly difficult outside just physical access and getting furniture where it needs to go.
Yep. A question from YouTube came through. They were basically just asking, when will you pick up the furniture?
Basically, our hire term is, we say it's 4 weeks paid, 4 weeks free. So it's for a total of 8 weeks, or unless there's an unconditional contract that goes through on the property earlier. Heaps of settlements are being brought forward at the moment, so it's really important that we get there within a week of the going unconditional, because otherwise we get a very big pressure put on us if we need to collect it by tomorrow.
Style and Grace ID, we did answer this in a message, but I thought it'd be good to share. How do we store our mattresses? They take up so much room. And where is your storage shelving from in your warehouse? I haven't come across it here in Melbourne.
The storage shelving that we use in the main part of the warehouse for all the furniture is from a company called Super Rack. And I think somebody said they found
Yeah, I've got a link.
The
2x4
Yeah.
by 2 by.
It's
Yeah.
long span
0
shelving.
points.
the
so-
same stuff down in
And just quickly,
Melbourne.
sorry to interject. Claire's currently writing an article on the warehouse, how we set everything out,
Yep.
and we
Layout,
will
yep.
be linking to that as well in a
Yep.
future article.
Mattresses, though, when we get full in the warehouse, when a lot of where we're a little bit quieter, so generally around the Christmas break, December, the warehouse gets very full, including and especially mattresses, sofas, all the big stuff. So we store mattresses at the moment. So what we used to do is we'd put it leaning against a wall somewhere at the back of the warehouse or the side of the warehouse out of the way. We've kind of thought we were wasting space above the mattresses, so now we put it underneath the same shelving that we just mentioned, and then we can put things on top of the shelves above the mattresses. Right now, if you were to look,
It's disgraceful.
we have so many mattresses that we've filled up all of our space underneath the shelving, and it's just kind of leaning in front of that
Yeah.
and spilling out. So
Mm.
right now we're struggling more than we usually do with
We need to get some
mattress
beds out.
storage. We need to get them out, or potentially look at other options.
Amanda from Box Clever Staging on the sunny coast. Tips on storing lampshades. Do we use plastic dust covers?
Our shade, they just don't stay down there long enough for us to have to use dust covers. So the lamps are all labelled and they match their base. So it's something that is really important to us. So we don't want to separate the lamp shade from the lamp base. And then so the lamp, they tried to get stored in the same spot up on a top shelf out of the way of other breakables. But they just don't stay in our warehouse for long enough to have to put any sort of shade dust cover or anything. They go in the car, in the stylist car. They're handled with very clean hands. The boys don't touch them. So, that's as much as it is a bugbear for some stylists when they've got them sitting down there. But we just don't have that element that we have to worry about.
I also read on the Property Styling Network group on Facebook that some people transport them in ETUs and stuff in the truck
I've seen
sometimes
that.
as well.
Other stylists have got big postal tubes.
Mm.
So the big cylindrical tubes that they've had, you can get them from the aircon places. Apparently that's what all the big aircon piping comes in. And then they store them in that and transport them in that because they're really quite solid, those tubes.
It's not a
Clever.
bad idea. Okay, last question, but it's a biggie. So Shannon from Vision by Design Property Styling. Hi guys, I follow your podcast every week and I'm a big supporter of your business and team. I'm in the beginning stages of launching my property staging business. I am based in Sydney. A little bit scared to start. I was wondering if you could help in any way assisting me. Perhaps if you would share a template of a service agreement you base your business off, or anything else you can think of what would be beneficial to have prior to seeking work. I do not hold any of my own stock at this stage. However, I have engaged Pabs Furniture Hire to work with whilst I build up some revenue. I was thinking of buying all the fluff, as you say, as each job is secured, and build up the knickknacks that way. Would you suggest this is a good business plan to start off with?
Few questions in there. I guess to answer the last one first, I would say it is a good plan simply because it's what we did.
Yep.
That's not why it's good, but that's we kind of agree with the approach where you need to, if your plan is to build up some sort of inventory, your only real options are to limit the work that you say yes to until you have the furniture, or you hire what you need to be able to say yes, and that's what we did. So we never wanted to say no, so we kept buying as we were going. We would be constantly reinvesting any revenue that we had spare back into inventory at the beginning, and then anything that we didn't have, we would hire. So we said yes to everything. So I liked that approach. It let us build the relationships. It let us build some reliability and get that reputation from certain agents.
It gave you variability in the stock too.
Yep.
In that, obviously,
you
the
weren't
highest,
just recycling your own 1 or 2 houses worth of stuff every time.
And they also, sorry, jump in. They also asked, could you guide me on the percentage I should add on top of the Pabs pricing in order to quote correctly?
Simple answer is we can't give a real answer. We can tell you that.
That's not a simple answer.
Well, no, that is a simple answer. It's not a probably satisfying answer, but the answer is it depends on your own market. Obviously, you will need to add a percentage that lets you be profitable enough that you are making money to reinvest, to do things like marketing, if you want to do that, to look at hiring people. Like, you need to be making money, I guess, on each job. But how much? Well, what that percentage is really depends on your market, where you want to sit compared to the other staging companies that you're quoting against, the level of stock that you want to be buying. What else did you want to add to that? But
No, I'll just say, so Sydney, as far as the property styling market goes, there are less stylists down there that hire their stock. More of them own their stock there. So you're, by having the higher, step in building your business, you're going to have somebody else whose terms you have to sort of cover. So you're going to be dictated by when they can install, their extension terms. We've worked obviously with PABS ourselves, so they are very, they've built their business on being very, this is the way it happens. So obviously it's very, that's the perfect way to describe it. And there's not that flexibility there. So you're going to have to very much find a value add for your business, where you can really help to sell your difference when it comes to other businesses who have their styling and have their own product, where they can turn things around probably a little bit faster, and their extension fees might be different. Those sorts of things where they have more control over it. You really will have to find somewhere where you can double down and have that point of difference that you'll be able to sell to your agents. That would probably be the best way, just thinking how the market is different down here comparative to up
you'll
here.
have to really overemphasize some of the things that you do have control over. Things like your communication, how you turn up to a consult or meet or speak to agents, like all those things. You're just going to have to be doubling down on the things that you do have control over. Because like I said, things like flexibility in when can you come and do an install tomorrow? Probably not if you're hiring from another party. So there's things that you do have control over. Really double down on those things.
But once you've built that relationship with them, with PABS, they are absolutely fantastic. If you have one of the business reps there who are going to really understand what you need, our rep who had Alice, she was phenomenal. She really understood what we needed. There were certain things she didn't have control over. However, she was a very big contribution to the way we were able to build our business. The other thing that I would say, looking back in hindsight, yes, we did have all the small bits and then bought the furniture. When we started buying the furniture, for some reason, I don't actually think it was a conscious decision or a discussion we had. We started off by buying the smaller pieces. So by the coffee tables, the occasional chairs, those sorts of pieces. And whether or not it's because the capital outlay for those pieces was lower, I'm not sure.
No, from memory, we did that because we could transport those things in a car or, at worst, a van. So we didn't want to go for sofas and beds that couldn't fit in those things.
Going back, we've had this discussion, probably would start with buying sofas. Because, yes, the capital outlay is higher, but the return on investment on those items is a lot higher, giving you more money to be able to reinvest as you go forward. So that would be the only thing that I would probably consider doing differently to how we built the business. We've spoken about that before. You having a different thought process on that now. We have to. Yeah. Anyway, but good luck. Have fun.
There was one more thing that was in that question was around the service agreement.
Yeah.
Stuff. So look, when we started, well, the first answer is yes. We can probably share that.
Definitely.
But
yeah.
It's ours. It's specific to us. So what we did at the start is we actually had access to a couple of other companies' terms and conditions. We looked at them. We kind of highlighted the bits that we thought were most relevant or important, relevant to us. We scrapped some of them. So, and then since then we put our own together, and then we've built on it. But we've also had some legal people look at it and give us confidence that they thought we were covered where we needed to be. So
there's conditions on there that we've expanded to, as when it comes to pets and damage of stock and
you learn and you figure out what were you missing that we should have had in there, and you add it as you're going. But while we can share it and maybe they can we can send them a copy, they can reach out, but I wouldn't ever take somebody else's terms and conditions and put your own name on it and run with it, because it's not going to include everything that you might need to in your own market.
Sure. And no, like, rough guide as to percentage you'd throw on top of the...
I think when we started, and this number probably changed over time, we started with 20% because to us, we looked at the size of jobs that we were doing and what that would mean from a total cost point of view, from the client's point of view, and whether we were comfortable with that number. And we knew that that would be enough that we were making some money before we had any real overhead, before we had the warehouses and all the rest of it, that we had enough to reinvest. Not to say that's the right or wrong number, but
do a market analysis and see where that puts you as far as where other stylists are charging. If you want to sit in the middle, it might have to change. For us here in Brisbane, that was on the lower end of the middle. We now sit pretty much comfortably in the middle, based on our own pricing. But you'll have to do a market analysis and see where that comes out.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Before we jump into under overrated, I know Jake hasn't thought about this. If you had to listen to one song on repeat for the rest of your
Oh.
life,
Did you forget?
Seriously?
you both didn't have
I've
a think
come up with
about
an
it?
answer
Okay.
while I've been sitting here.
Yeah, this is from last week for those
So-
listening.
So if I could only listen to one song for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
I've put a small amount of thought into this. It's not a good answer, but I'm going to give it to you. It's the theme song from
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh
The,
god.
the instrumental thing.
Yeah, that's a
I-
Hans
let me-
Zimmer
let
one,
me-
isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, Hans Zimmer. Let me give you my reasoning. Because if you're listening to one song the rest of your life, I don't need lyrics in the background. I don't want to have the same stuff. I don't need it to be over the top. It needs to be easy to listen to in the background. But that song can also pump you up if you want it, you know? It's a feel-good song.
Can you imagine any of our real simple conversations if we're like going to this depth?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
gotta think about this. That's an
I got-
important question.
I'm not following on from that. We'll just leave that.
Okay.
Play that here in the podcast.
Yeah,
We'll edit that one in.
the rest
Yep.
of the song. No, it'll be copyright on that one. All right, overrated.
Definitely.
Cinema popcorn.
No,
Go and cinemas
for
and
me,
have a
over,
popcorn.
I enjoy it, but it's overrated.
Well, there's just so much.
It's expensive too, isn't it?
For what it is, yeah.
How do you
I'd rather make it
just
at
get as
home
part
and...
of the packet gold class? We've never paid for it separately.
No, look at you, la-di-da, gold class.
Oh, you're an idiot. The once we get to go a year.
Okay, having a van available when home staging.
Do you know what? This is an interesting one because we've been talking about, like we've said for a very long time, how we're going to get a van soon. And now we're at the point where
decided not to.
Yeah, we were about to say, let's get it. And then we're like, do we really need it? So I'm going to say overrated. Could be useful, but I think it's overrated.
If you've got the other logistics part.
Yeah, we've got the trucks. So if you didn't have the trucks and you're starting with a van, I could see, well, that would be useful. But
We went with more cars than we did vans.
Yep.
'Cause I
What, you
can
got
get
some
them
new
sooner.
cars?
What?
what?
Jake,
Did you?
apparently.
Jake didn't know.
whatever. He lives under a rock.
Do you know what colour they are?
No, they don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I signed the paper. I've got no idea, actually. I'm sure he would have told
I
me.
reckon, I reckon it'll be white.
It doesn't matter. I'm getting him sign written.
Yeah, true. Oh, it'd be
Black
cool if
and
they're,
orange.
It'd be cool if they're different colours, actually.
But they're just going to get sign written.
Yeah, not the whole car.
We
though.
should have
It'd be
asked for
like-
red so we can be faster.
All right, moving on. New pair of socks.
Underrated. Love a good pair, especially football socks.
Oh yeah.
Start the
Overrated.
season. Phoebe hates socks.
Round rugs.
That sounds so dumb. Yeah, rated.
Yep. I don't know.
You're really loving the segment this week, Phoebe.
Sorry.
She's thinking of all the
I'll say a
important work.
jute rug is
you should be doing.
overrated if you were more specific. A jute round rug is
That's
overrated. They put
that's
crap
what
everywhere.
I'm asking. Yep.
But a wool blend rug is rated.
Cool. And last one, a weekend with nothing on. No plans.
Underrated.
Yeah, underrated. Love a
Yeah.
weekend like that.
Yep.
Awesome.
We have enough going on through the week that a weekend like that is very
But not
welcome.
too many in a row. You can't do that.
No,
Yeah.
that's true. Get a bit bored, wouldn't you?
With 4 kids, it's amazing.
Okay, well, that's it for the podcast this week. Thank you, Phoebe.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you, Cody.
And we'll see you back here next week.
Oh, not everybody. I don't think that round. I'm guessing that's in relation to a round